Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the tavern. We've reached section 6. This is our conclusion of the Biden-Sanders 110-page manifesto.
This was painful.
It was. The whole, 110 pages is painful. Today we're going to be talking about the 21st century immigration system. Something our vice president was tasked to accomplish was the immigration system, but has thus far failed to even go to the border with Texas. And Texas government officials are pleading with her and the Biden administration to do something. But they're not there. I mean, our immigration system is broken from many years of mismanagement.
Many decades.
Yep, many decades. Again, this manifesto can be found on our website, fedupwithpolitics.com. It's there for you to download, along with the Federalist Papers, the United States Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We have tons of stuff on there for you to look at.
Recommended reading.
Oh, yeah, recommended readings. Got some good ones on there. The American Constitution, its origins and development. That's really good. I finally made it up to chapter 22 with that.
Ooh, that's a good chapter. That's the only one I read through.
So go back and listen to 1 through 5, sections 1 through 5. And this part is not going to be as long as the other ones were, but still educational. So
I'm going to be very quiet on this one. My notes are blank.
So what's your intake? What's your thoughts on the current immigration system?
I think just like everything else that Trump had fixed, prescription price, free COVID testing, this was taken care of. The wall was being built. We had negotiated with the Northern Triangle, quote unquote, another
Remain in Mexico policy.
Right. Trump accomplished what this country needed. All he needed was the fence to be finished up, which was almost finished up. And like we've been saying from the beginning, once you have a fence and you have a border and these people can't get in illegally, then you can work on an immigration policy. Until that's done, why would anybody listen to an immigration policy when they don't need it? See ya, I'm in.
Right. Yep. So this part of the manifesto starts out on page 38. And in the first paragraph, out of many, we are one that the bedrock American idea has animated our country from its earliest days, inspiring people from every corner of the earth to participate in our great democratic experience. We want people to come here, enjoy all the same freedoms we have, land of opportunity and of the free. But the next sentence stood out to me, that it said, President Trump's immigration policies have made our communities less safe, undermined our economy, and tarnished our image around the world. He had a remain in Mexico policy. Trump, his goal was put America first, and that's the way it should be. Every American president should be fighting for the citizens of this country before we even worry about other countries. Trump was trying to make this country safer. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, finishing the wall. I mean, what is wrong with a wall?
It works in every other country.
Yep, it works.
Israel is the perfect example of it.
We got walls around prisons.
We had a fence wall around the Capitol building.
Yep.
Guess how many people got in after the military and that fence was up?
0.
Right.
But President Trump, he put America first, and that's the way it should be. We have gang members like MS-13, the most dangerous gang in the world right now. They almost destroyed El Salvador until their new president, he was elected. And he's the one that said we're putting citizens first. we're going to change our country so these gang members don't control anything.
Yeah, he had to give Kamala Harris a lesson on that.
She needs one, you know. But what a concept, putting average Americans over criminals. That's the way it should be, you know. Under, I think the second podcast that we did under this 6-part, under criminal justice, it's these their radical agenda, they want to put criminals first. And it's the same thing with this failed immigration policy.
But they want to close prisons.
Right. Yep. But they want to let people come here. There's over 11 million people currently in our country that we know of.
That we know of. There you go.
That are undocumented. How many more are undocumented? How many more have committed crimes in their country and are just trying to get away from that? Only to come here and have more, these people, the other people. I mean, look at that illegal immigrant who murdered that girl. I forgot her name.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Margaret, I'm sorry.
Well, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of stories about innocent Americans getting killed by illegal immigrants.
In May alone, over 180,000 migrants crossed the border. 180 that we know of. 180,000. In 6 months, we had over 500,000 people. It's costing us, the taxpayers, millions and millions of dollars that we spend on hotels, food, processing these people.
Taking care of them, changing their diapers.
Yep. We have homeless veterans and even homeless people on the streets of San Francisco that aren't being taken care of. Some people want to be homeless. I get that. And that's their right. This is a free country. Sort of.
Yeah.
But they would rather spend their money, our money, on illegal immigrants. They're not even citizens of this country. And we've talked about it in our last couple sections about, giving free schooling to immigrants. Why should we worry about giving money to train, educate illegal immigrants? It costs $122,000 to school an illegal immigrant. That's K through 12. $3 million a day is spent on housing illegal immigrants. Let that number sink in. It's $3 million a day. The Remain in Mexico was a great idea, and it should be continued.
Well, not only was it a great idea, but it was lawful. It's written in the laws that if you're coming to this country for political amnesty, you have to claim amnesty in the first safe country, which was Mexico.
You know what's crazy? We wrote Tom Rice, and we wrote Lindsey Graham.
We're still waiting for Lindsey Graham's response.
Asked him a couple questions. Lindsey Graham, we didn't even ask him about the immigration. And he writes back a letter saying, thanks for your question on immigration, which I didn't ask him anything about immigration. I asked him if Biden was spending $86 million a year to house illegal immigrants. That was my only question to him. And Tom Rice, we asked him 2 questions. One about his vote on the
impeachment.
Yep, for Trump. And the second was the same question we asked Lindsey Graham about the $86 million. Still. And that was back in April.
Well, one of the podcasts we went line by line from his letter to us.
You destroyed that one. Yeah, you destroyed that one. So I made it down to the second paragraph. And it says deporting veterans who have fought to defend our freedoms. They're talking about illegal immigrants joining our military. And what I'm getting out of that is, again, illegal immigrants joining the military. We're sending them home when they served in the armed forces. Again, this is another lie, because in order to get in the military, you have to meet a certain criteria. And I'm gonna explain it here for immigrants. It's called the MANV program. Military accession is vital to the national interest, which enables non-citizens to join the military with such skills as interpreters, certain cultural knowledge, and even medical professionals. However, in 2014, the program was suspended. And
Who was president, people?
I think it was Obama.
Oh.
So yes, a non-citizen can enlist in the military. However, federal law prohibits non-citizens from becoming commissioned officers or warrant officers. But in order for them to enlist in the military, must be a legal immigrant with a green card, permanent residing in the United States. And for most of us that don't know, the green card is a slang for a permanent resident card, and has a 10-year span before it has to be renewed. So yes, a non-citizen can join the military, but they have to be a legal green card holder, permanent residing. So you can see how the Democrats rearrange words to confuse all of us, but we've seen through their games. So again, a non-citizen can join, but there's a certain criteria they have to meet before becoming a member of the U.S. military. So we're not deporting people that have served in the military.
Well, I mean, when my son graduated his basic training, they had three of his fellow soldiers. They became citizens. It was part of the graduation. It was very nice. And if you're going to serve this country, why would you not want to become
A citizen.
I mean, it goes hand in hand. It's ridiculous. I just reading this here. Page 38, creating 21st century immigration. Fourth, I'll call it a paragraph. Democrats will rescind President Trump's fabricated national emergency, which siphons funding away from our men and women in uniform to construct an unnecessary, wasteful, and ineffective wall on the southern border. We will immediately terminate the Trump administration discriminatory travel and immigration bans that disproportionately impacted Muslims and African people, and invite those whose visas have been denied under these xenophobic and un-American policies to reapply to come to the United States. This is what this man has done since day one he got elected. He has been taking policies that work and getting rid of them because it's government first, the U.S. citizen second. He doesn't care about your safety. He doesn't care about what... He's shielded. Everybody that secures him, none of them have non-lethal weapons. They don't have tasers. They don't have paintball guns. They have one thing. They're armed. Period. Same with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of them. I mean, they had the National Guard surrounding them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they didn't even take care of those guys. Now all of a sudden they're worried about the military? Give me a break. Can you get any more hypocrisy?
I don't think you can. To expand on your statement there about unmanned, unnecessary, wasteful, and ineffective wall, there's several things wrong with that. Number one, the wall is not ineffective. It's going to protect the United States citizen. It's going to slow down illegal immigration. And when you talk about siphoning funds from our men and women in uniform, you know what they're specifically talking about? $21 billion in military construction funds that aren't already obligated to use on border projects. Some of the $21 million taken from his wartime funds account, which is known as overseas contingency operations. Military construction accounts Not taken away from training, not taken away from ammunition, not taken away from equipment, but construction funds. These Democrats are unbelievable.
You know who did take away money directly from active troops? Oh, Biden did. They got the equipment that they were using was so bad that they had to take parts from museums so that they could do flight training for the Air Force. I mean, but the press doesn't let us know that.
It doesn't fit their narrative.
Well, state-run media can't say that. The press should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, my God. I don't know what these people are thinking or how they have this view. I don't understand it. And people believe. They think the people that are reporting on this are lying.
Democrats have admitted that the immigration system was broken long before President Trump took over into office. And
you know who was in office long before President Trump ever got into office?
Obama.
Biden.
Yeah, he did 50 years, right?
Yeah. Hello, can we say a clue?
And immigrants are essential to our culture, to our economy. I mean, they enhance us, they enrich us, and it makes us more diverse. But the only reason our immigration system is broken is because of our politicians. Every one of them. They can't work together to come up with a valuable solution that's beneficial to the citizens of the United States and make it feasible for illegal immigrants to come here. But you cannot just stop following laws. You have to follow laws on the books. There's so many immigration laws on the books, we just have to follow them and enforce them. And that's something that Biden doesn't want to do. He doesn't want them enforced. But when Trump was in office, Trump wanted them enforced, and he did the right thing by enforcing them. You got anything?
Yeah. Here's one on page 40. It's talking about, it's a ramble. It's about this whole creating a 21st century. We will ensure that enforcement mechanisms are humane and consistent with our values and international humanitarian obligations. That's why we will end workplace community raids. We will protect sensitive locations like our schools, houses of worship, healthcare facilities, benefit offices, DMV, from immigration enforcement action. We will prohibit law enforcement actions that deter access to justice at courthouses and programs that force state and local law enforcement to also be responsible for immigration enforcement and stop targeting men and women who served in uniform and their families. So, first off, Dennis just went over with the guys that are in uniform, number one. Number two, House of Worship was put in there for a reason. Because apparently the Democratic Party has forgotten what happened 20 years ago. The attack on the World Trade Center, and almost 30 years ago in 1993, February of 1993, the first time they attacked the World Trade Center. The first attack on the World Trade Center was formulated in a mosque. It was, so that's right away House of Worship. We used to have intelligence in all the House of Worships in the mosques in New York to make sure that they were not preaching violence to the United States. And that was done. De Blasio got rid of that. So we have no idea what's going on in there. And this whole paragraph, if you notice, did you hear one thing about the United States citizens?
Nope.
Right. So where are their loyalties? Are they to you? Are they to me? I have a family? No. It's to people that, certain people, not all of them, that don't agree with what America stands for, like the Squad.
The funny part is there's a lot of Democratic people that are, they're very patriotic. And they believe in America.
That's I don't know how many still exist because the state-run media won't let guys like that, be heard. The old school Alan Dershowitz. I mean, he was a civil rights attorney his whole life, and now his entire party, everything he stood for, all his morals in life, they're not in that party anymore. I don't know what the number is because you can't find out because the ones that are true Democratic patriots aren't allowed to be heard. And if they try and stand up for a principle, they're ridiculed. They're ostracized.
They're out there, though. So what I'm going to talk about next can be found on page 39. And Democrats believe it is long past time to provide a roadmap to citizenship for the millions of undocumented workers who are an essential part of our economy and the fabric of our nation. Hey, Democrats, newsflash. We already have a roadmap for undocumented people to become citizens of the United States.
Yeah, right.
So I have no clue what you're talking about.
Neither do they.
So I'm going to let people know here what those requirements are. If you're 18 and older, time of application, a lawful green card holder, permanent resident for 5 years, have established continuous residency for 5 years and are physically present in the U.S., possess good moral character, have basic knowledge of the English language, have basic knowledge of U.S. history and government, and show willingness to take an oath of allegiance.
The Pledge of Allegiance every day at school. That's
An oath of allegiance. So as you can see, we already have a roadmap. It doesn't have to be changed. And what's wrong with those 7 requirements to become a citizen? Taking an oath of allegiance. I bet if we go to their country, we have to be of all them and take an oath of allegiance to their country.
Some of them you'd have to change your religion.
Right? You would. So we already have a roadmap. We talked about it. We have laws in the books. We can all come together and make this place stronger and better for everyone. But I don't think the Democrats really want that, Jack, because I think they want us towards socialism.
I used to think that this extreme part of the Democratic Party wanted socialism. But I don't think socialism is strict enough for them. I think they're almost bordering Nazism. Just by what they're communist and Nazism, it seems like, is what they're. I mean, we went through line by line for 6 things: their energy, their law enforcement, schooling, healthcare. I mean, what they're using comes straight out of Moscow and comes straight out of 1933 Germany. Mm-hmm. If you look into what they're saying, they use these words. And then, so what do most people do? They see that word, they read by it, and they go on to the next sentence. If that word you don't understand and you look it up, it's frightening. Because like I said, those schools, spiritual, whatever it was, that philosophy comes right out of Moscow. Indoctrination from 3 years old to 20, that comes right out of Nazi Germany, 1933. And they only did it for 4 years. These Democrats today want to indoctrinate your children from 3 years old until they graduate college. I don't think they want socialism anymore. I think it's much more drastic.
When Trump was president, the Democrats talked about how the inhumane treatment of illegal immigrants at the border, and they were put in cages and this and that. And they talk about how our agents are unprofessional. And you know what? Our Custom Border Patrol, our immigration agents are very professional. The ones that aren't professional are people in Congress.
How come AOC is not going to the border? Remember her cry fest in that vehicle?
She was the one that said Trump was inhumane.
She was the one that was saying that these people are drinking out of toilets.
Yep. Well,
you want to know something? At least under Trump, they had toilets. You know what? when you guys had our military surrounding the Capitol building, they didn't have toilets. They had rotten food. They didn't have toilets. Who are you? How do you say these things? And now, since Biden's been president, she hasn't been down there.
Never will.
Hasn't been down there once.
Won't go back at all.
How does she know if they're drinking out of toilet water anymore?
She doesn't.
And CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
What are they? How come nobody's saying every time she's on the news? Why are they not asking? When are you going down? When are you going to show us the good parts of this new 21st immigration policy you guys are doing?
They don't have a good policy. So the inhumane treatment and the people in cages, it's under the Biden administration. I mean, we've all seen the images on TV that hundreds and hundreds of people are in bubbles. They're bubble cages. I mean, I don't know what else to call them. But you see them overcrowding, sleeping on the floors. But they always want to talk trash about the Trump administration.
Those places were only good enough for 250 people. They had thousands.
5,000 people in a couple of them.
In a space that was only available for 250 during a pandemic.
So the people that need to look in the mirror are the Democrats. Look in the mirror and look. I don't even know how far they can look at themselves anymore. By the way they treat everybody. It's not fair. It's not fair that they put the American people through this.
We went through the salary of these people, and we didn't go completely through. We're going to have a podcast on that. So they're allowed 5 and 6 employees, staff to run their regular office. But then they go on to these boards and
committees
and stuff. And they literally have people that are hired to those committees. Not to the congressman, the Senate or the representative, but to the committee. Could you imagine if there's ever a time where New York City wakes up and elects somebody besides Nadler and they put a Republican in there, or AOC's office? The people that Nadler's office has been hiring to these committees that he's in charge with as a Republican. I mean, you have infiltrators into this government that think the way these people, I don't even know how you indoctrinated people into these committees. How are you supposed to get any of your, we have to change that too. Right. When you become a committee, you got to get your own people in there. You got to lose, that can't be a pensionable job.
So I made it down to page 41.
Wow.
Democrats will address the root causes of migration. We don't need to address the root causes of any migration.
The cause is because this country is great.
Root causes should be the national governments of Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador. They need to find out why their people are leaving their countries.
Yeah, why do we have to find out why they can't keep their citizens?
Yeah, we don't need to find out their root causes. Again, we need to take care of American citizens. Put Americans first. We can't put illegal immigrants in hotels, spending millions and millions of dollars every month when we have starving children in America. We have homeless children in America. Wake up, people. What is happening in this country is morally wrong. It's unconstitutional to put illegal citizens above American citizens. I hope you've had enough of all the stuff we've been talking about, because there's no reason to have open borders. We shouldn't give illegal immigrants free schooling. We shouldn't give them free community college. We need to take care of U.S. citizens first. And if we have our problems figured out, then we can help other countries. But we don't need to find out the root causes of why the people in their countries are leaving. It should be their governments. Take care of our people first. We're the ones that pay taxes. We're the ones that make America great. Take care of us first.
I read through this thing and I don't have anything to say. I can't say anything because it is so. I don't understand what they're writing. I mean, reforming immigration department and agencies, created an ombudsman for immigration and border enforcement consisting of the Homeland Security Improvement Act, who would establish a complaint process identifying chronic issues, field internal, external complaints, and report findings annually to the Secretary of Congress. Establish a border oversight panel, as well as a border community liaisons in each border patrol sector. Ensure that the Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Division within the DHS has authority to investigate issues within the agency and can protect people that come forward. Where I'm reading hundreds and thousands of pages, there's not one worry about a U.S. citizen. There's nothing in here about American history, American findings, American principle. I mean, are you kidding me? Have you ever been to a history class in your life? Who are these people? How does this come about?
I think it comes about because we let it happen.
End systemic racism in our country that extends to our immigration system.
Right.
Are you kidding me? What does that even mean? Require 1 year timeline for ICE and CBP to institute best practice policies and procedures regarding the use and storage of body cameras?
You know, when Trump was president, they wanted to get rid of the custom border protection patrol officers. All of a sudden, they want to keep them now. I mean, these Democrats are unbelievable. They think we forget, you know, what they say, what they tell us. But everything's on the internet. Everything's recorded. We know what you say.
And you know what else we have on our site, Dennis? It's an incredible, incredible resource. It's called history books.
Yep.
Read one.
Again, when we educate ourselves, that's the day the politicians fear us.
Read the one that's on our recommended reading. It reads like a textbook that you can understand. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, the American Constitution, its origins and development, takes us back to the days of our founding fathers, and it brings us up to like the 1960s.
Do yourself a favor. I got to get this book. I lent it out to somebody and they never gave it back to me. It's called The American Handbook. Read that book. It goes back to the Mayflower. The last one I read went from the Mayflower all the way up to Barack Obama.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, get it, because it's an incredible read. It's an unbelievable book. It's written by a pastor who remembers the days of when he went to the school back in the 50s and 60s, where when you went to school, when you reached high school, you used to get that American Handbook every year you went into school. That was part of your books, the American Handbook.
So we don't really have much more to say about creating a 21st century immigration system. But again, we don't have to worry about root causes. That shouldn't be our responsibility. Why should we care if people want to leave their countries? It's their responsibility. We should only care about
who wants to get into this country.
Who wants to get into this country. So the last 6 episodes of our podcast were the Biden-Sanders manifesto.
Nauseating.
Jack, you have any final thoughts on that?
The only thing I got is so far 110 pages we heard about climate change with following the science, with no scientists on their boards. They have boards for everything. Every one of these 6 things they have boards for. None of them, I mean, school, that's the only one that had any teachers on it. But not how much or where or how they're going to make this happen. There's nothing that's going to have you change and how these funds come about, how they're going to go to it. Just you should do this. Basically, all they want to do is develop more and more bureaucracies that can make more and more laws without the Congress knowing about those laws, and asking for more and more money without Congress knowing where this money is going to and who's in charge of it, and without you knowing what happened to and why you have no freedoms. That's basically what this is. They're going to take your children out of your house from 3 years old to 22 years old. When you get this kid back, you're not going to recognize him. And everything's going to be for free, and everybody's going to get paid a great salary by developing free stuff. I don't know how that happens.
Right. So a little recap. So over the last 6 podcasts, we've talked about the Biden-Sanders Manifesto, also known as the Biden-Sanders Unity Task Force recommendations. So section 1 was combating the climate crisis and pursuing environmental justice. Section 2, protecting communities by reforming our criminal justice system.
Yeehaw.
Section 3, building a stronger, fairer economy. Section 4, providing a world-class education system in every zip code.
Indoctrination.
Section 5, achieving a universal, affordable, quality health care.
By whose standards?
And today's podcast, the last one, creating a 21st century immigration system. We've hoped you enjoyed our last 6 days. I think it's been eye-opening for both of us. A lot of education, a lot of material. And like I said, they're just our opinions, and hopefully we got our point across, because we had a lot of them.
Yeah, we did.
One thing we do know is that we have a lot of differences, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, conservative, it doesn't matter. We all look at things differently. And one thing we do know is we need a country that has a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And if we come together united and take these issues head on, we can make some serious changes. But it just can't be one lopsided, I'm better than you and I know more than you, because that's false. I think our government officials need to realize that the government belongs to we, the people. And we, the people, need to realize that it is our government, not theirs.
It's time for us to take it back.
It's time. And by taking it back, we mean starting at the local committees, Democrat, Republican, conservative committees. We can take over and
We may have to go all the way back to school boards.
you never know. Again, we hope you've enjoyed, and we'll leave you with this. Knowledge is power, and we'll see you next time at the tavern.